Hello and welcome to the most hated show in the black corner of YouTube. I'm your host, the whiteologist, Mr. Blows Your Minds, and this is Black Minds News Report. Black Minds News Report is to report, articulate, translate, communicate, insinuate, develop, investigate, unveil, decode, spread the news, whether it's by news, video, website, or quotes from publications. As I articulate this information, I ask that the creator of the universe be here, heart, soul, mind, and spirit. Because why? The truth don't need no partner. As a descendant of the greatest people who created this place that we call the United States, we, the foundational black Americans, the bloodline historical lineage, the historical people known as slaves, we who call ourselves BADOS, Black American Descendant of Slaves. Some say Black African Descendant of Slaves. Others say ADOS, American Descendant of Slaves. We, today's children, offspring, and present generation, we give honor to our ancestors. And you know what the motto of my show is? I'm never gonna tell you what I heard. I'm only gonna tell you what I know. Today's date is October the 25th, 2019. Did you hear? Well, it seems that an official who is considered an umpire in this professional sport felt some kind of way based on what is going on in the political arena, where the country is on the verge of trying to remove a sitting president, which they call impeachment. Now again, in the country, in the atmosphere, and a lot of stuff that's been going on, a lot of people are feeling the sense that the country is on the tipping point. Come to the crossroad. Enough is enough. Well, depending on what side of the coin of opposition, pro, whether your movement is about, is the way you're gonna feel. So, Black Minds News decided we're gonna go ahead and delve into this. And again, stay tuned as we get into this program. Hey, how's y'all doing again? I am your host, Mr. Blows Your Minds, and again, this is Black Minds News Report. First and foremost, I want to say what's good to my fam, old and new. Passerbys, if you should happen to pass by, this is the most hated show in the black corner of YouTube. Been in the business for 7 years. Used to get 250,000 views, 50,000, 30,000, 20,000, you name it, we was getting it. But after did the video of April 1st of 2014, it seems like I made a lot of people feel some kind of way. And ever since they've been trying to say, we are slowly, methodically is going to get rid of him and that channel and make those people who cannot discern the fact that what you're seeing is just blatant, outright, just we're going to suppress that. So again, go down the aisle, see some things that you might like. If you happen to see something that make you feel some kind of way, remember the motto of the show is the truth don't need no partner. Now again, as I was saying there in the intro there, right, that an umpire has, got onto the social media and decided to let his feelings about what's going on and partake of his input, or they say your 2 cents, And he went on out and said some things, then went back later and retreated. Well, we're going to say retreat. We're going to say he deleted his comment. But again, they say once you put it out there, it's out there. No matter if somebody said, they always is going to record so they can play it for you, right? So based on that what's been said, I had seen the story. I would have did it the other day, but because I did so much on that Shaquille O'Neal in the pizza in the situation with Papa John's. Matter of fact, before I even get into that, it goes. Some people might just seen the title and was not like, I don't want to hear nothing about no Shaquille O'Neal and no Papa John's. But again, it's a lot of things intertwined in that situation. There was the history with Papa John's and the owner Shatter, right, and things like that. And it wasn't so much about the racial slur; it was all about the stance. There was a lot of other things that was also taken on. Then we had to ask ourselves, why would the individual pick up the baton and then try to sell it back to us when we already decided that we were not going to be fucking with them? So anyway, lo and behold, an article came out right today that I had read, and it spoke on the fact that that when you seen the clip in that video, of those who have seen it, remember when he spoke at the Good Morning America with Michael Strahan and talk about how change of management, and then he talked about the individual named Richie and so forth, but they done removed him, and other people have now positioned themselves to actually done take over the company, and we see that I had said in the video that I said, okay, if they took the person who, again, was the founder of Papa John's, right? Removed him off of the commercials and part of the advertising, but they did not relinquish the fact that he still was the major shareholder in the company. So it's still his company, right? But they've been legally maneuvering, trying to, put other positions, and then I guess these two get together, going to commingle this and then have more position in the company. But he's been crying a foul that it looks like they don't know nothing about the business. And so again, he spoke out right after I had just did the video yesterday. So basically, they talked about how the big deal was to get Shaq to be now this image they're going to push. And I was like, damn, with HBCUs and the whole thing. And then you see you got Kaepernick somehow possibly maybe getting back in. So I'm like, it's just chess all the way around. So anyway, just want to bring that anyway. So let's go ahead and get into today's topic about what is here. So the possibility is civil war possible? Is what you got to ask yourself. Now again, those who have been watching me for some period of time, remember I had put out a video about civil war coming. Going all the way back to, I think it was when Alex Jones and what was that dude that picture his face, can't think of his name, but they had an interview and they was talking about talking about 1776 and if you try to come take our guns and the whole nine with that, and then talked about lemons, and I had went down. Took that and I had deciphered what he had said and what it was pertaining to as we as black people. Because it looks like that we, those in the black corner of the internet, a lot of people do not like to touch this because, again, they think that white folks' business has nothing to do with black folks' business. But, they told us back in the day that, white folks catch a cold, black folks catch pneumonia. Whatever white folks get, you're going to get the worst part of it, right? And so as a person who does black media in the sense that I do, I will touch those just to bring, again, information, knowledge, to say that you can't say you did not know. Because if I know it, then I make sure you know it. So the question becomes, how real is the fact of a civil war happening? Now, again, the foundation of the individual who's in there, then a lot of people, and again, they're feeling about the mega and all that. And then if you impeach him, it's kind of like kicking on hornet's nest, right? And so let me give you some of the background as to why they did a poll. And then you have to also understand that there's another element that is out here that's probably is quietly kept. But again, if you've been watching this show, I'll talk about it after the fact that you see it. I'll show you how much, if you are avid watcher over here, you'll be up on things, right? You be up on what's going on out here to a certain extent. We don't do all the trending stuff. We do the common man, but we also have to be watchers on the tower about other things. So let me go ahead and quit talking about it. Let me show about it. And check this out, and I'll be back right after this. So check this out, and she'll be right back. If everything should go the way it's supposed to. So let's see how this is going to get off. Let's see if we're going to work it right tonight or today. All right, let's see. Everything seems a little bit slow as it is.
Despite strict gun laws, police seize hundreds of so-called ghost guns every year. 22 News reporter Sydney Snow is live to explain what ghost guns are. And Sydney, you found out these guns tend to slip through the system.
Yes, Yara, ghost guns can't be traced back to their original owner, many times because they're bought online in pieces and then assembled. Massachusetts has some of the strictest gun laws in the nation, but so-called ghost guns may be slipping through the cracks. Ghost guns have no serial number and are unregistered. Many times, the gun is made and not bought, making them nearly impossible to track. Although ghost guns are illegal, the pieces to make them can be legally purchased over the internet in most states with an FID card. Assembling the gun isn't illegal. In fact, many gun enthusiasts will build their own gun. But once you manufacture it, you're legally required to register it. If you don't, you're committing a felony.
If you're going to break the law, then you're going to break the law, I guess, and I don't think the laws are really going to stop anyone that wants to do harm, but they are going to help regulate the industry as a whole.
According to the ATF, there is no way of knowing how many ghost guns are out there. And as technology advances, it gives even more options for ghost guns. People have 3D printed gun parts. Earlier this week, a Springfield man was arrested for being in possession of a ghost gun. He faces a number of gun and drug charges. Live in Springfield, Sydney Snow, 22 News.
Well, ghost guns, it's a popular trend in the gun industry and now raising some big concerns about your safety out there.
Untraceable gun kits sold right here in Tampa Bay. And I-Team investigator Jared Holbrook found you don't need a background check or a license to make or sell one.
They can do it in the confines of their garage or their home, and nobody will know.
Last July on the streets of Baltimore,
I just heard gunshots in the back of our alley.
Dayton Harper shoots at police officers with this assault rifle.
And how many shots did you hear? Maybe 4 or 5.
Officers fired back and killed Harper. In California 3 years earlier, John Zawahiri uses this assault rifle on a shooting spree. Police say he killed his father and brother at home, then fired dozens of shots at Santa Monica College, killing 3. What do both of these guns have in common? They had no serial numbers, no scratches, they were homemade and are untraceable. A shock to Baltimore's police commissioner.
You know, I was on the scene and we're looking at it and we're all wondering what to call it and what do you think it is and how would you describe it? That was a big part of the conversation.
Law enforcement call them ghost guns or 80% guns, and they're becoming more popular.
Our biggest concern is we can't trace the guns.
Assistant Special Agent in charge of ATF's Tampa office, Dave Brown, says these homemade guns are becoming a huge problem for law enforcement.
The public needs to know that we are seeing these guns, unfortunately, in the criminal element.
The I-Team found 80% gun parts are easy to find on the internet. They don't require a background check, and they're completely legal.
Because an 80%er, there's no difference between this and a paperweight.
Mark Serbu with Serbu Firearms in Tampa explains the only part of an assault rifle required to have a registered serial number is the lower receiver. But an 80% lower receiver isn't fully developed. Therefore, by law, it's not considered a firearm.
And what needs to be done is this pocket needs to be machined out, as you can see, and then the holes need to be drilled. The safety hole, the hammer hole, and the trigger hole.
We found there are at least 6 manufacturers making 80% lower receivers in Central Florida. They're sold in some local stores. You can even buy them online. The seller doesn't need a dealer's license because by law, they are not considered guns. We even found a template you can buy to make it easier to finish drilling out the holes needed to complete your kit. Video tutorials are all over YouTube.
Proceed by drilling the first 3 holes.
Yeah, there's a pretty big market for it.
Mark says he can make 80% lowers but doesn't sell them. He is in the process of getting government clearance to sell a homemade pistol kit.
So we're going to be putting a kit out, and we need to talk to ATF and send them something to say, hey, is this do you consider this kit to be a gun or not a gun?
Law enforcement we spoke with say these untraceable gun parts appear to be a loophole in the law and fear it makes it easier for people who fail criminal background checks to build one.
And that concerns us. We don't see that often in Baltimore, but the fact that we saw one concerns us greatly.
Tampa Bay law enforcement agencies tell us they haven't seen anything like this on our streets. However, ATF Special Agent Dave Brown says he personally seized a fully automatic homemade gun. California passed a law requiring all homemade guns be registered regardless of what federal law states. I'm investigator Jared Holbrook, taking action for you.
Now to the showdown over 3D plastic guns. Just hours before instructions to print them were set to go online overnight for anyone to download, a judge put a temporary stop to it. Our Chief National Affairs correspondent Tom Yamas is here with more details on this. Good morning, Tom.
Robin, good morning to you. Overnight, a federal judge issuing that temporary restraining order to stop the release of blueprints to make those untraceable guns. These weapons are fully functional. You can see them there. They're made using a 3D printer, and they are just as deadly. Everything from handguns to assault-style rifles. Now, while these 3D printers are very expensive, they are becoming more broadly available, including in schools, and that's part of the cause for concern. The guns can be made without serial numbers, which means no background checks, and completely untraceable. And anyone, including someone who is underage or even a serious criminal, could build them, some of them almost entirely made out of plastic, which makes them even harder to detect. Now, Senate Democrats, local leaders, gun control advocates have all sounded the alarm. More than 8 states in the District of Columbia are suing the Trump administration, arguing the so-called ghost guns would threaten public safety. Yesterday, the president weighed in, tweeting, "I am looking into 3D plastic guns being sold to the public. Already spoke to the NRA. Doesn't seem to make much sense." A pro-gun group called Defense Distributed had already posted the instructions, but after the judge's ruling, the company decided to suspend all downloads for now.
But there's some plans that are already out there, though.
Oh, that's right. Before the judge's order, that company had posted the blueprints for the AR-15. They had already done this. Thousands of people downloaded them. And just before I came out to set, there's another website claiming to post the downloads as well, and they're claiming First and Second Amendment rights.
Yeah, but the president criticized it, yet it was his State Department that approved the publishing through a settlement.
Correct, and he sort of was moving the goalpost on this. The issue right now is making these guns and downloading them. It's not selling them to the public. It's letting anyone being able to download this and then build that gun.
It's hard to imagine what could be the legitimate purpose for that, but it's really some story. Okay, Tom, thanks very much.
Now to another story we've been following tonight. The controversial owner of a company that makes untraceable 3D printed guns is back in Houston tonight after his arrest in Taiwan. Taiwan took Cody Wilson in custody there wearing a mask after he was accused back home in Texas of paying for sex with an underage girl. ABC's Marcy Gonzalez on those new developments tonight.
Tonight, the 3D gun maker some call the most dangerous man on the internet is back in the U.S., extradited to Texas after being tracked down in Taiwan. Charged for allegedly sexually assaulting a 16-year-old girl he first met online. According to allegations in court documents, Cody Wilson paid the teen $500 for sex in an Austin hotel room after connecting on SugarDaddyMeet.com.
I don't know that my detectives have ever sat down with a predator who willingly said, "I knew the victim was underage."
Wilson sparked controversy starting in 2013 when he uploaded blueprints online for 3D printed guns. Critics concerned the unregulated, untraceable weapons that can be made at home, even from plastic, could easily fall into the hands of criminals.
They are untraceable. We don't have any registry of who bought them.
Last month, a federal judge temporarily barred Wilson from sharing the blueprints online. The so-called crypto anarchist later announcing he would sell and mail the plans directly to customers.
The gun is power. And this is the essence of this project. I'm actually giving people the means to create a power for themselves.
And tonight, Wilson's being held on $150,000 bail on that sexual assault charge. He has not yet entered a plea and could face up to 20 years in prison if convicted. Tom?
Marcy, thank you.
Chances are you may never have heard of a 3%er, and that's okay by them. They're a relatively new kind of militia group. They claim to have some 400 members in Minnesota, and they've divided the state up into 7 zones in a kind of command control structure. They say they're ready to defend us in a coming civil war. The question is, who exactly do they plan on fighting?
They've always hidden in plain sight. Those who believe one day our government will go too far.
Are you still a member?
I have no comment about that on camera.
No comment?
A world where grievances and guns
we will defend ourselves.
Go hand in hand.
If there's no firearm serial number on there, it's untraceable.
Joshua Rader is a commanding officer in the United Patriots of Minnesota 3%, and one of the few willing to talk about the movement publicly.
Everybody told me not to do this interview.
But even he doesn't trust us. His brother will videotape our interview.
What does the group stand for?
Group stands for pretty much protecting our community, protecting our gun rights, protect the Second Amendment, Constitution. Pretty straightforward stuff that you're used to hearing from patriot groups, I guess.
The name 3%ers comes from the American Revolution, a belief long disputed that only 3% of the colonists took up arms against England. The 3%ers share ideological DNA with other right-wing extremist groups like the Posse Comitatus, the Oath Keepers, and Sovereign Citizens, and especially the militia and patriot movements of the last 20 years. 3%ers have also become very social media savvy, spreading their message and sharing pictures on Facebook.
We have patriots out here from Wisconsin, Minnesota, Montana, Arizona, Utah, Nebraska, Kansas. They're from all over the place.
3%ers have regular training exercises around the country, like this one in Colorado. Preparations, they say, for natural disasters, a terror attack, or if everything just goes to hell.
I think their country is possibly headed in the direction of a civil war.
The rap on patriot groups is that you're all a bunch of racists.
I completely disagree with the white supremacist movement. I also disagree with the black supremacist movement.
What about someone who espouses discriminatory beliefs about African Americans, about Muslims? Would you accept them into your group?
We do not accept hate-mongering type of people, because that's not what we stand for. I mean,
Information coming in this afternoon. We're just learning that Secretary of State Mike Pompeo was among those who listened in on that phone call between President Trump and Ukraine's president. That happened on July 25th. Also this afternoon, Democrats in the House subpoenaed the president's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, for documents related to his communications with Ukraine. The president and his team trying to run an offense in the face of this impeachment inquiry.
A flurry of weekend tweets from President Trump demanding to meet with the whistleblower personally, declaring again a witch hunt. And this, the final part of a 4-tweet thread quoting Pastor Robert Jeffress on Fox News, implying removing him from office will cause a civil war. That drew the ire of Illinois Republican Congressman Adam Kinzinger, writing this: "I have never imagined such a quote to be repeated by a president. This is beyond repugnant."
These are outrageous and disgusting comments. No leader of the United States should ever be making these comments.
All of it coming just days into the impeachment inquiry focused on a phone call between President Trump and the president of Ukraine, in which Trump asked for intel on a now debunked claim against former Vice President Joe Biden and his son Hunter. The summary of that phone call locked away by someone inside the White House and declassified after the whistleblower complaint went public.
I made a call. The call was perfect.
When the whistleblower reported it, he made it sound terrible.
The president characteristically hitting back, even as House Speaker Nancy Pelosi sent a firm message to the White House.
Honor your oath of office to the Constitution of the United States. Speak the truth. Don't make this any worse than it already is.
Pelosi speaking with her caucus in a private phone call about the impeachment inquiry Sunday, saying this: "We have to be prayerful, somber, and nonpartisan. This isn't about politics. It's not about partisanship. It's about patriotism." The president's allies, though, quickly jumping to his defense.
Salem witch trials have more due process than this.
The President of the United States is the whistleblower, and this individual is a saboteur trying to undermine a democratically elected government.
But former Trump Homeland Security Advisor Tom Bossert saying he is frustrated with the disinformation coming from the White House.
I'm deeply disturbed by it. It is a bad day and a bad week for this president and for this country if he is asking for political dirt on an opponent.
The latest polling showing a slim majority of Americans, now 52%, supporting the impeachment probe. But when it comes to the actual removal of the president from office, just 47% support that. Removal would, from office, by the way, would require a majority of the Republicans in the Senate to vote on that. That is not likely. But when he was asked today, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said that they would have no choice but to take up the impeachment if it were to come from the House.
All right. Thanks, Sean.
You bet.
Major League Baseball reviewing umpires reported tweet threatening civil war if Trump is impeached. You know I'm going to say that again. Major League Baseball reviewing umpires reported tweet threatening civil war if Trump's impeached. This story is coming out of The Hill. October the 24th, 2019, and this is how this reads. MLB is conducting a review into a reported tweet from a longtime umpire that predicted a civil war would break out if President Trump is impeached, according to ESPN. Rob Drake, who has been a full-time MLB umpire since 2010, tweeted last Tuesday that he was ready to purchase an AR-15 in case House Democrat impeached Trump, the network reported. "I will be buying an AR-15 tomorrow because if you impeach my president this way, you will have another civil war. Hashtag MAGA 2020, Drake reportedly tweeted. According to the Sports Network, Drake added in a separate tweet, "You can't do an impeachment inquiry from the basement of Capitol Hill without even a vote. What is going on in this country?" Drake deleted the tweet before deactivating his account, ESPN noted. Commissioner Rob Manfred told the network on Wednesday that the league was looking into the matter. MLB did not immediately respond to a request for comment from The Hill. The Major League Baseball Umpires Association addressed the controversy on Wednesday, saying in a statement that the reported posts do not represent the view of the MLBUA or reflect those of the umpires we represent. Rob is a passionate individual and an outstanding umpire. He chose the wrong way to convey his opinions about our great country. The Umpires Association said the MLBUA supports all of the umpires who ensure fair play in the greatest game on earth. We are a group of individuals with diverse opinions and beliefs, united in our desire to continue our excellence officiating MLB games. Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Democrat California, announced a formal impeachment inquiry into Trump's last month following revelations about the White House interactions with Ukraine. Multiple House committees have been holding private depositions with numerous administrative officials as part of the inquiry. Trump and GOP lawmakers have repeatedly voiced issues over the hearings being held in private. Drake served as an umpire in his first Major League Baseball game in 1999. He worked in the postseason in 2012, 2013, 2014, and 2015. All right, so we are back, right? Had that little rendition there. We're setting the groundwork there, right? So for those who might not have been informed or have the information or knowledge about, well, there had been news stories that had been out here that were kind of giving the bits and pieces. Now, again, you might have heard about ghost guns, right? And ghost guns particularly is just guns that are pretty much manufactured self-made guns, right? What you do is you buy the equipment, which is a 3D printer, and there are parts that you can order from certain places that distribute pieces. So you buy it in pieces and you assemble it and manufacture it yourself, right? And so these particular guns in itself are not like guns that you go into, let's say, gun shop, gun sales, they be having those wholesale shelves and stuff. So because those guns have serial numbers, right? You have to go through background check and so forth and things like that. But with these, ghost guns here are undetectable, untraceable, right? And they talk about they call them the 80%er, right? The 80% gun. And they basically what you see is that these guns have been created. It's basically they found a loophole in the law that technically make them legal because you are self-assembling them, right? And then there's certain aspects. Again, I think there was that part where that individual was showing, if I'm not mistaken, do I have that? The dude was showing how to put the gun pieces together. Let me see if I can pull this up right quick before I give you the image of that so you can see they're doing this in real time. So let's see if I can do that. Because if you've been watching this show, when that law, after they went through that process through the courts and it became legal, I actually went live that night and I actually brought that to the attention the night of when the first night that it was legal for them to actually go on the website and actually download, right, the information, the blueprint to make it, again, as you heard, was the AR-15. So with that information being out there like that, one has to say how many of these AR-15s are in this country. Because again, we know that the average black person does not have the economics to purchase such machinery, right? It would seem like it was just like something that's domestic that any person could get. But again, sometimes, I ain't gonna say sometimes, I'm just saying that the way that they do it, right? So here's the individual when he was showing you about this particular piece and why this piece in itself is not considered under the legality as part of a gun. Because as you see, the difference between the black piece and the silver piece is that the black piece is already gutted out, right? It's already been stamped out. And the part that he has in the right hand, which is the silver piece, is not, which means you have to actually do it self, right? So you have to buy the equipment and so forth. So you can't label that legally as a gun, right? So, there's, they say there's always a will, there's a way, and then people will find ways to get through whatever they need to, because really, when you think about laws and legislation when it comes to guns, it really ain't talking about law-abiding citizens. Those who are part of criminalities and all that stuff, they ain't paying no attention to what you're saying. Again, you don't say, I need to protect myself. They ain't going to do what they need to do. Regardless of that, they deal with the consequences when they, get accosted with that. So when you make more restrictions of laws, it seems like it's more pertaining to people who are law-abiding more than those, again, till you get caught, then stiffer penalties and sentences that comes later after the fact. But the point is that's not prohibiting them from obtaining guns. And we see that with this out there, you have to ask yourself, as I said, all you need is have a garage, have the economics to buy the machinery, and so how many are being manufactured, and there's no way that there's no data to actually know how many have been assembled. And again, the fact that they're untraceable, there's no serial number, you don't have to register them, right? And so that means technically they just don't exist. These guns don't exist. And I remember a story that I did about, they went to this one particular house in California, and it was just sprawled with so many guns. It's like, wait a minute, this one man had, the streets was about, it probably was a block and a half full of guns, the whole street with all kinds of different types of guns, right? And so you say this one individual, again, maybe he, gun selling, maybe that's what he was doing, right? But to say in this case, people who've been ever since going back to 2018, when the information came out, I think it was 18, I don't think it was 17. I actually, if I go back in my archive, I got the video. Well, the night I did that, and then when I started showing it, the video started getting a little choppy going live because, again, they didn't think I, again, was trying to, again, that's what, again, black media, I have to, again, I'm not like these other channels over here. I'm not trying to be trendy. We're talking about news that affects us particularly, and those who might be here in the West just as well, just to be informed as well. But the fact that, again, as I go more into this, we're going to see, what is causing the spirit to rise in this country to make people even feel like that, right? So I'm going to give a little bit more on this here. So we see that you don't need a FOID, which is a fire owner identification card, right? And so, the ATF, which is alcohol, tobacco, firearms, right, have no exact data to how many there are out there, right? And so again, according to the more technology that's out there, right, that means the more sophistications that can be created due to the technology. So if, again, we novice, green, not knowing, and so those who've been advancing, because again, they have to also be mindful and watchful because they know that government is trying to come up with ways and restrictions. So again, they have to be moving fast. So again, we don't know what kind of, let's say, weaponry has been created. We have no idea, right? And so somebody who might be suited and booted and ready to go based on the simple fact they have information and knowledge about things that, again, we don't know, then maybe could be on the precipice of something that's coming. Because everybody can feel something. And then again, I just seen it again. I didn't want to mention it before, but I had seen it. I had seen it some time back. I seen Hillary peeking her head out. I think Hillary Clinton is going to try to run again. I'm saying that again. I think she's going to try it again. Because the Democrats don't have nobody, right? So again, the dangerous aspect to the fact is the realness of the Civil War, but is it more propaganda than a reality? Because again, I think the last end for that to even manifest will have to go through the Republicans. And I don't know if the Republicans are willing to stick the knife in their own man. You get what I'm saying? So again, it could be just more the heighten of selling this. Again, as we've seen that the individual here, this Rob Drake, he came out as an umpire. Now, again, we were thinking that an umpire, from those, again, who play sports, whether you're male or female, the mindset that one has been taught as one who plays sports is that a referee or umpire official is impartial. So they had the symbolisms. Think about a referee wears a black and white shirt. He's neutral. I don't give one nor another. I'm just playing the game as it going accordingly, right? But we come to find out, again, there was an individual that was in the NBA. They ended up getting him. I can't think his name off the top right now. Somebody might know. But they ended up putting him in the jail because he was telling some things and saying about how the games were being fixed, right? So we see this individual here, Rob Drake. Again, they say, great umpire, so forth. But again, his thought as to what's going on in the country about his president is that he's willing to say, I'm going to go get my AR-15 and be in preparation because the minute y'all do that, it's going to pop off. Right? And so some people was hear that and say, oh man, that's crazy talk. Right? But again, I just showed you there's groups that sitting in, it looked like a lot of that was in the Midwest. They're kind of like all over. But they already been in preparation, practicing, preparing, training, right, for something. And they say, well, they said civil war, but the interviewer was like, well, civil war with who? And right, and the point is, with who, right? Is they thinking the reminiscent of what actually took back at that particular time? Because they said that a historian, and the thing is, they made a historian. They say a historian, right? And Newsweek had said this, right? It was this one historian that had said that this one individual, because see again, it says historian. They don't say the historians with they say the historian warns today America looks eerily similar to period before the Civil War, compares movement conservatives to slaveholders elite, right? So there's a battle going on in this country, unbeknownst to, again, you have some of our people who are tied up in about, again, we're going to build business, do black stuff, and, we always got the ADOS and about reparations and so forth. And this aspect, you got to understand cause and effect, right? Your cause and effect is, worrisome and troublesome to another people who, even though politically correct, everybody wants to say that, we all get along and everything is about, that was in the past, but to see everything more to be in the past, to see like more today, we're still seeing that head rearing itself. So again, my always say is that how could something go away if nobody actually made it go away? It just dissipated on its own, because you may say Emancipation Proclamation, you may say you got civil rights, and then but did that change really anything? Those are just things that we could throw at you. See, we changed, but that don't mean that you change, right? And so, as this article had talked about in here, it was saying that, looking back, when Trump was, he had said something he said that it was something that's similar in the conflict in the future. If he's removed from office via impeach, he was saying something that Trump was saying to the fact that, in history, based on what we are today and, what's resonating, though the foundation that is supporting me and what I advocate for, if you do decide to do something, this kind of reminds me of something that happened in history. And so they said that there's a parallel between the consolidation of the elite slave owners that were in power, right? Between 1830 and 1860. And then they said it was the rise of the movement of the conservatives from 1954 to 2019. But what they both parallel and what they both had in common was both took power by denigrating black Americans. I'm going to say that again. Now, accordingly, they say that the parallels that are similar today are kind of like when you look at history, when you see the consolidations of the elite slave owners, the powers that they had between 1830 and 1860, to the rise of the movement of the conservatives of 1954 to 2013. And they said, when you look at both of these groups, they both took power by denigrating black Americans. Now, again, as much as everything that's being said and talked about, but it seems like there's somebody is not in the equation of the politics and the agenda that is being spoken when you're looking at these, what they call these debates, presidential debates and stuff. It's like black people don't even exist, right? So everything is talking about inclusive of everybody else, but nothing specifically towards about the plight of what, ADOS, BADOS goes through. And so when you seen originally at the beginning of this campaign for presidential, you had Kamala Harris come out, and then you heard the talk of, reparations and so forth. It came out a lot of the Democrats' mouths. And then they talked about a poll and so forth. And then the company, again, I did the show and I showed you that, again, I didn't agree with people who, again, if you're foreign, I don't think you have a say so as into that. So they put everybody in this goulash, and everybody was saying basically, well, we're not down for no reparations, especially in the form of cash, right? And so with that being said, and then, you have black people who trying to make movements of trying to be self-sufficient, economically independent, trying to obtain more higher, abilities, education, become self-sufficient in creating businesses. And, and that in itself is kind of like, again, when you have been created as let's say, a consumer nation. Now, again, you're not going to have the entirety under that. And that's what some people are looking at. Well, I'm not slavery. You're a victim and all. Again, if I build a machine, if I build an engine, right? And I need certain parts to keep my engine running. Let's say I got a car, I'm in the Dayton 500, right? And in order to make my machine or my car to operate at optimum, there's parts, springs, sprockets, all kinds of stuff that I need. Now, accordingly, it don't matter who I get it from as long as it makes my machine run. Do I make myself clear? It don't matter who I get it from as long as the fact that it makes my machine right. So now what I'm saying is, some people think because you see certain people and faces and ethnicities and people in certain positions that somehow is independence and free. But the truth of the matter is, no, you just actually making another operating machine function. Yeah, you're just making that machine function. You're not doing anything independent, anything oppositional to it, right? It's kind of like the same thing when I was talking about the other day with those who seen the Shack and the Papa John's. I'm like, well, you got a name, you got economics. There's other businesses that would be, if we're going to say we're going to talk about unification and blackness, that there's companies you could franchise or help them to broaden their franchise with your, advertising. Again, as I say, maybe trying to emulate like a Bill Cosby becoming a huckster, right? Like I said, Mr. Huckster Boys, Mr. Huckster was a huckster is one who sells, right? So that's what you became now. And so why not take a Sylvia's, take Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles, take one of them franchise and then say we're going to bring them to HBCU. No. You went to go get something because, again, look what it's tied to. Look who it's all tied. You understand? So, again, that's the whole problem here. So everybody think because you see somebody that dangle the kid in front of you and they say, well, look, see, they're independent, they on self-sufficient, all that. No, they just sprocket, spring, or some kind of mechanism in the machine. They're not nothing independent from it. You get what I'm saying? And so, so when we looking at this, and the divide is about what? Who's fighting to vie for? Because you are great economics, because of your self-reliance and self-independentness. So we created you to be that consumer. So people fight and vie for the position of having you. But if you're trying to free yourself from that, then let's look at it this way. If a particular people who got all they people and their people can be self-sufficient and independent because as they are all part of one mechanism unit, right? You can't rely on all them as your bread and butter because they got other people and other businesses and families who they can support and not have to really deal with you. But if you create this people over here who don't got nothing, all of y'all vibing for getting that in different facets of ways and schemes and machinations, how we going to make money off them, non-for-profits and all that, they all make money, right? So, again, according to this historian, the historian said, well, there's a vibing part, and then they said there's the racial dog whistles that are going to voters, that are unbeknownst and undetected for those who don't have the trained eye or ears to hear. And it says that, when you look at it, when they made the comparisons of these two, they say, well, they were passing laws that was to move wealth upwards. Now, those who were rich was getting richer. The rich was getting richer and the poor was getting poorer, right? Don't push me because I'm close to the edge, right? So anyway, and so what we got also they was talking about in this article is that they were saying that, you know, it was a doubling down on the racism against, as they say, all POC. Now, POC would be people of color. Now, all people of color, but again, as BADOS, ADOS, again, we don't try to separate, but again, we just say we've been in the game longer, got more skin and more blood. And so those who came from somewhere else, you always had the opportunity to go. Now, I know that used to be kind of the talk once in a while. People say, well, you can go back to Africa. We've been here too long. We're too far removed. We can go back on again under the, you know, this novelty test of a DNA that's going to put you on a landmass, but you can't go directly to nobody's house with your, you know, the old way used to be have a stick and had a handkerchief with all your stuff in it and walk them there and knock on the door and be like, I'm home, family. You know, you can't do that. You can just say a location, but you can't say particularly a family. So those who've been here that had the opportunity who can do that, well, that's why it's a little bit different when it comes with us. And so by you hearing black people trying to consolidate their position to use the power of their vote and not just being the free chicken dinner, right? And voicing, and then you have the social media where they're talking about and standing up and then, you know, showing their power by the purchase of their dollar by extracting the dollars. Again, let's say, for instance, about what happened with the Colin Kaepernick situation. How much business was hurt because of that, right? We see that Papa John's, we see that, and only because they won't say the racial aspect, but it was more to it was other stuff that was involved in it. But they say there's other companies that were being hurt too. Now, on that, the reason why he got hurt is because it was on both sides. You got the players who protesting, and then you got the white folks who protesting. So you being caught in the middle, you holding the bag. But there was other ones, just like when you look back and see that when Minister Louis Farrakhan had said about boycotting the Christmas. And ever since he has said that, I have not heard any data stats talking about anything to do with numbers when it comes to those holidays, Thanksgiving. Because see, it's like black people are slowly matriculating out of the system of total support of these holidays, right? And so they're not talking the reports about the money. So again, the bottom line somewhere is being hurt. So even the Black Fridays, you ain't seeing those videos of mothers just going wild and crazy as much as it was at one time, right? So the effect of black people, as Black Minds News and others of the black corner of YouTube are doing their media shows and reporting and articulated from a black commentary point, has an effect on a lot of things. And so some people are feeling black folks is out of pocket here, right? Black folks need to get themselves back in order because it's not good for business, right? There's like a lot of people who, again, I'm the most suppressed, most hated show on the black corner of YouTube. And there's a reason for that. So it also talked about, there was an article in, I think it was Market Watch, right? I think I seen that in the Market Watch. I think it was it Market Watch? I think it was Market Watch. I seen a article, and let me show you, just to give you, to show you. Right, so you see it says that Civil War voters say we're getting close, right? Civil War voters say we're getting close. And according to, in this article, it would come out of Market Watch. I think that actually came out today on the 25th of October. It talks about how Georgetown Institute of Politics and Public Service Survey had polled, or did a poll, and according said average Americans, right? So average Americans, I'm just going to assume that, again, what does average American really mean? Because again, like I say, everybody else got a hyphenation on their American, except for when you say American, pretty much mean white folks, right? So anyway, right, again, somebody who don't understand, you got Black American, you got Spanish American, Chinese American, right? Yeah, but who's the American? Yeah, that's the, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, but according to this poll, it said that 2/3 of those who took the poll, I think it said about 1,000 registered voters who they polled. And I don't think 1,000 really is significant to actually talk about a country that's over 350 million people, 340 million people. But they put this out. So again, you have to ask yourself, going back, is this more propaganda for that again, which one is using how you got in the office the first time, right? How you got on the office the first time, because a lot of people didn't take that serious. They said, ain't no way that him talking like that, and he was a seasoned veteran, somebody who been in the game, was a household name, husband had been a president, and they could not see him winning. But again, as it talked about the dog whistle that was being blown, and again, you had no training to understand and hear what you saying, but Mr. Blows Your Mind, go back, see the video. I told you he was going to win. Everybody thought I was crazy, but no, he going to win. And I laid it out. So again, you don't know, go back and see for yourself. But anyway, so you see that, say 1,000 people who are supposed to be doing this. And they say that the voters say that based on this climate where it's political, it's racial, and it's class divide is widening. And so they had a 67 to 23% of the people, so they're going to round that up to 70%. So they said 70% of the people believe that the country is going to civil war. Now, based on the poll, now again, you have to ask yourself, if 1,000 people can be the voice of millions, it depends on who the 1,000 people that you spoke to, right? Otherwise, if this is random, you could be asking Joe Smo and Pookie, and you know what I'm saying? And again, according to it just depends on the position that one holds as to, as I said, about political. Now, somebody who looking at shit from a political standpoint might be like, talking it from a political aspect and say, yeah, due to the simple fact with the Republicans, the Democrats and the Republicans, and people not agreeing with the Democrats and believe that they still have ill will and feeling because they beat their girl and they're going to go all out. And then you got those people who might be Democrats who's talking about the Republicans and say, feel like, well, he stole the damn election and so forth and got the Russian out of it. So, okay, so that's a divide, right? Depending on that's your position. Could be racial. Now, there's some people, again, like black people, who be ADOS, who say, look, it's 400 years. We've been here 400 years. Where's this cutout check at? Where's about the reparations and so forth? And then there's the other half of that, the people saying, no, we don't believe y'all should be nothing because we didn't have nothing to do with that. And we don't think we should be flipping the bill to pay anything. And I don't think I can live knowing that black people either going to be equal to me or better than me financially. Because see, now it's not going to affect all of them because there's, again, also, let me tell you something that I didn't do. Did you know that China has more wealthy people than Americans? I'm going to say that again. So the whole tide is changing. I just did the article. Oh, I didn't do the article. I just read the article where it talked about Chinese have more wealthy people than the Americans. Shit changing, right? The tides is turning. So it seems like everywhere that the position that you used to be number one is falling. So this is why a lot of people believe that, man, wait a minute, man, there's a lot of shit, and there's people who are saying that, the prophecy and everything is leading up that this is the fall of it. And so this is, the seed that is being festered by all this, again, whether it's propaganda, whether it's real. There's a lot of things that sent out again, like let's say with black folks are saying, hey, we got issues with reparations, we got issues with police, we're not getting equal right, whole lot of stuff going on. And then there's the pro-white element. They feel like they getting outside because of immigration and so forth. It's a lot of stuff festering in this. And so based on this 1,000 poll, they want to say that there's a 70% that the people are feeling that we're civil war. So guess who drank the Kool-Aid? The umpire. right? The umpire went out, said some stuff openly, publicly, and now he can't put, say the genie back in the bottle. So now he got to live with it. So now they got to do the investigation, be like, hey, how damaging is it going to be? Now, again, baseball is American sports, and maybe, again, because it's American sport, he might be able to get a pass with that. They probably just brush it off because they say majority of the people to pay the patriotism of baseball that feeds our will and our machine are like him, so y'all just going to have to take that one for the team. Y'all going to have to suck it up. It is what it is, right? So it could be, right? And so, you have to listen to. And then it was the fact that this evangelical pastor had said this, right? Let me, do I got that? Let's see, do I got that one? Do I got that? Maybe I don't got it. Let's see, do I got that? Do I got that? Let me see if I got that. Because it was an evangelical pastor who had said, maybe I don't have that. Can't believe I don't have that. Hold on. He had tweeted about if they were going to try to make the move of removing Donald Trump from office, that I think based on them reading this and him saying this, let me show you. I got it right here. Here we go. Let me show you what I'm talking about. See, this was a tweet that was given by an evangelical pastor named Robert Jeffress. And he said, if the Democrats are successful in removing the president from the office, which they will never be, it will cause a civil war-like fracture in this nation from which our country will never heal. Now, that was a pastor saying this, right? That's a pastor. Right, man? It's supposed to get, again, your interpretation of God, what your understanding of what you read, right? And that's why when you look at the fraction in this country about the different denominations of churches, there's a difference in the ideology. That's why there ain't really no unification. Because you can be a whole room full of church folks, and based on the doctrine and understanding that they got, that would be the thing that keep you from having some kind of camaraderie or unity, right? And so here's when it went out, and then there was the retweet and went back out there. And so based on that being in the views that had been seeing it, so a lot of people, yeah, that's right. Civil war, that's right. Because again, you're losing. And again, you got to break the glass in case of emergency, because why? It look like you're losing in a lot. And then you're fighting against time, which again, time, according to, they said, statistically, that by 2048, 2050, that they're going to move from the number one position as in population down below. And again, so these are all the elements needed. And you heard the president, even himself, reverberated this same quote in that, you heard in that news clip, you heard him when he reverberated that same stuff. So then you heard that they was like, man, that is, ain't no man sitting in the position should be ever saying no, right there, what's up with this cat? But again, dog whistling to those that, again, you see an umpire coming out, you take my president, I don't get my AR-K-50, okay, now, they know better take that serious, because he ain't the only one speaking like that. And as I showed you, the manufacturing of them ghost guns and all that ain't nothing new. It's all in there. You understand? This ain't nothing new. It's only new to us because, again, we not looking at none of this stuff. And then who's over here talking like that, right? Because it's scared talk like, no, man, this is public information. The only thing is, are you willing to go ahead and just say it? Right? It's public information, right? And so, is there a real aspect to this? Right? Or is it just dog whistling to stir up the troops as on call? I need you on duty to get out here and get this job done and get me back in there to show them, you understand? Or is it real as to the fact that we on the break of the verge of a divide that, again, as that pastor said, that will cause a civil war-like fracture in this nation from which it would never heal? Well, you tell me what you think. I laid out what I according to what I looked at it from, and with the article in itself. Is it true? Is it not true? Because, again, you have some people who won't even put no thought into it. But again, it's a punch that you don't see coming will knock your ass clean the fuck out. So whether it's somebody saying, I smell smoke in the theater, or somebody yelling fire, right? They say you can't yell fire in a theater, but can you say, I smell smoke, right? Is it the same if you say, I smell smoke? Is it the difference between saying, I smell smoke and there's a fire? So, again, Black Minds News Show. I'm your host, Mr. Blows Your Minds. And I want to thank each and every one of you who took time to come over here and listen to what Mr. Blows Your Mind had to say. But I would like to hear from you and tell me, elaborate your position. Where you think I might have said something that misspoke, your opinion. You know what I'm saying? It's all good over here, right? Go ahead, hit that up so we get up out of here. Thank you, sir. Go ahead, hit that for me. Come on. You slow, man. Thank you. Then, tell me what you think. Like the video, dislike the video, comment, subscribe, share, do all that good stuff, right? Again, I'm your host, Mr. Blows Your Mind, from the most hated show in the black corner of YouTube. I want to thank each and every one of you. Again, when you see your brother and your sister, what's good, brother? What's good, sister? If you can't do that much, at least give the universal nod, right? Understand and know who is on your team. And some people gonna be on your team that you're gonna have friends and allies. You better ask them. They better ask a couple questions. One, if shit and when shit get hot, them people that you down with, cool with like that, called allies, are they gonna still be down here in the frying pan when shit get hot? Two, have you ever heard of John Brown? You know, John Brown went out with him and his boys to do all according to what they told us. Is this story real, or this is something some people told us as a mythology to make people believe that there was white folks who went all out in behalf to helping black folks? Now some people say, hey, what about the Quakers and all? Yeah, but they was enslaved us too for a minute, right? But anyway. So anyway, gotta ask them that question. You know, some of us need to get this jealousy, envy, strife out our ass and understand that we is all we got. Know that we in a day and time that there's some that are seeking for our demise. So it is incumbent that we as BADOS, ADOS, stay vigilant, mindful, cautious, and high spirit. Again, I'm your host, Mr. Blow Your Mind. Thank you, and this has been the Black Minds News Report. Until the next show, to the next show.
you